Hi there and welcome back to my channel. This is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video we're discussing To Die For, written by Lisa Gray. It's an amazing book. It's a thriller and a mystery. I loved everything about this. It keeps you guessing all the way through the book. You don't know who the victim is until the very end. You don't know who the culprit is until the very end. There's so many things to love about this book. I think anybody who loves a good thriller would enjoy this. Anybody who likes a good mystery would enjoy this as well. There's just so much to love about it. We start this book off with an amazing shock and an amazing hook. There's sort of a party, a get-together at a house in Malibu, and it's to sell a house basically, and there's people in the industry and people who are clients, possible clients who want to buy the house, invited. I think it's about a guest list of about 50 or so people there. And out of the blue, people go, I want to see the pool, the outside pool. When they get there, there's a body there floating in the pool. That's the big shock, and it cuts off there. So from that moment, we don't know who the victim is. We don't know who the culprit is. And that first chapter is written in quite a clever way because it just makes us sometimes wonder who's in those scenes as well, because you don't get all the names in the scenes. So it's very cleverly done. And from that moment on, it's a thriller as well, very tense and psychological as a thriller, and also a whodunit. You're trying to work out who is the victim and who's the culprit. And I love the fact that we don't know who the victim is. Not knowing who the victim is until towards the very end adds so much suspense to this book, because sometimes if you know the victim, you can kind of work out the culprit sometimes early on. In this case, not knowing the victim, you have no idea who the culprit is. It could be anybody. The main focus of this story then shifts to this group of real estate agents, and they're all trying to sell this multi-million-dollar house. And the person who sells it gets a commission of $1 million. That just adds so much tension into this story. And the author really lays it on thick about these agents, really gives us agents who are just awful in nature. They're just so predatory. They will connive, they will backstab, do anything it takes to get that commission. It doesn't ruin it for me in this book, even though it's laid on very thick. It feels real, and you kind of expect it. I mean, I'm not a big watcher of reality TV, but I've seen small snippets of shows where there's real estate agents in them selling big property, and sometimes they come across like this on those shows. So I think as a concept, it's done very well. Those characters feel very real, and they feel true to form in a way as well. What makes it more exciting and engaging is all these real estate agents, all these characters have secrets, and those secrets bring about reasons why they want that money, why they're desperate for it, why they'll do anything to get that commission. And that makes you wonder that any of them could be a culprit. And when you're reading it, you're trying to find little clues about them. They're characters that you probably won't like when you read the book. They're very easy to dislike, and they're written in a certain way for that. So I do enjoy that in books as well. I do like where authors take that risk to write characters you won't like when you're reading the book. I think sometimes it's a risk. In this case, it works so well. I don't want to give anything away about this book at all, because all the fun of this book is not knowing. You don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know who is the victim, who the culprit is. You don't know who people can trust in the story. And you'll change your mind about characters all the way through the story as well. That's all the fun of this book. It makes it so exciting, it makes it so gripping, it makes it so enjoyable to read. It's one of those books, I think, when you read it, you want to read all the way through in one small sitting. You don't want to split the read at all. If you split the read, I think you'll be drawn back to it straight away. It's just so gripping. It's a real page turner, this story. Alright, the book in general, so the mystery. The mystery is so cleverly done. It feels so tightly plotted, tightly planned. When I was reading this, I was picturing the author writing this at home and giggling, chuckling, just thinking about readers, thinking about how hard it is for the reader to work this story out, and just knowing the reader has to get to the very end to know what's going on. That was on my mind as I was reading this. All the characters in this story feel very real. They're so well done and well crafted. You can picture all of them. None of them feel forced and fake. Everything feels so natural in this story. And that's very hard to do, to create every character in the book to make them feel so real. And in this setting, having real estate agents have that drive, have that passion, have that compulsion for them to try to get that commission in any way necessary, to make characters that feel unlikable, purposely make them that way, and to still make them feel real, make them feel lifelike. Everything about that is so well done. The twists and turns in this story are amazing. They're all surprising. They are just so cleverly plotted. They're peppered all the way through the book, and I prefer books where that happens. I don't like books where the author waits to the very end to throw twists in, and sometimes those twists don't make sense. Life's not like that. Life is kind of twisty all the way through, so why not make a book feel that way? And it just adds so much to the story. It kind of throws off characters in different tangents as you're reading it, and that's more engaging, I think, than just waiting to the very end for that to happen. The end of this book is very surprising. I was surprised by it. I was shocked by it. I found it very enjoyable, very engaging. And it's a kind of ending where you think it fits. And it's an ending where you don't feel ripped off. You've read all the book, and sometimes the ending feels a bit cheesy or just doesn't continue with the same feel and atmosphere as the rest of the story. So it feels a bit disengaged with the rest of the book. This ending fits in every way. I enjoyed it very much, and it just made me enjoy the book even more. Andy is our main focal point in this book, and as characters go, she's very engaging and very real. And I like everything about this character. She feels like the nicest character of the bunch in the book, but she has her own secrets, and she's holding on to those secrets very tightly. But those secrets come out towards the end of the story, and they're very shocking, they're very surprising. I liked everything about this character. I liked the way she was constructed in the story. I just like the way everything feels organic about the character as well. Hunter is one of those characters who's created to be unlikable, and he's a character where you want something bad to happen to him in the story. Sometimes you feel that way about characters. You think they're so evil, so unlikable, that you can't wait for them to have something bad to happen. And Hunter is that in this story. So I think the author created him very well, very cleverly, because he created it in a way where you think that about him. And that makes you engage with the character. So engaging with an unlikable character is not always common, but in this book, it works very well. So Miles is another agent in the book. He's a gay character, but he's written with a big flaw, having a gambling addiction. And I don't know if I'm happy with the gay character having this addiction in the story, because in the history of fiction, whether it be books or movies, whatever it is, gay characters were often written, often created, as having big flaws, as being dubious, as having deviant behaviour, all this type of thing with gay characters, and to have that in a modern book just feels a bit strange to me. So I think we should get past that and create positive gay characters more in fiction. So I don't know if the author meant that. I'm sure the author wouldn't have meant that when creating this character. The author would have probably said, what would drive this character to want the money? Okay, let's give him a gambling addiction, losing money, and he needs it to either fuel that addiction or pay his debts. But I think that alignment of him being addicted to gambling and also being a gay character feels a bit off sometimes. And I think that maybe authors should think about that a bit more in certain books. So in a way, this character is very engaging, but I think that adding that element to this character of having that addiction, I don't think it was the best way to bring this character to life in this story. I enjoyed this book a lot. There's so much to like about it. I mean, the mystery, the whole plotting of the story, the not knowing who the victim was until the very end or towards the end, that was so well done. Because not knowing the victim meant anybody could be a culprit. And I like that open-endedness in this book. I like the fact that you're trying to guess about everybody. Are they the victim? Are they the culprit? And that changes so often through this story. I rate this a 5 out of 5. It's a very clever book, very smart, very sleek, very tightly done. I could imagine this as a movie. I think it would make a fantastic movie or a TV series, but I just love to see it on the screen. I love to see how these characters would be portrayed on the screen. On my channel, I review mini thrillers. If you enjoy thrillers, check out my channel and subscribe. On the screen now is a link to a video for another book I'm sure you'll enjoy.